None of that matters.
Said it before, not ready for prime time, not ready for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Can you imagine him standing up to, I don't know, Putin or the Turkish leader or any of the other people we talk about? Oi! Marissa Simkiw stood up to Justin Trudeau today. You naughty girl. You went out to interview him, but all you did was you dared to ask him a question he hadn't completely rehearsed for. What happened?
Well, we were at the HX Pickering. He was speaking to the Board of Trade out there, and he's repeatedly said on a number of occasions, I will not raise the income for I will not raise taxes on the middle class.
Yep.
So I said to him point blank, who constitutes the middle class? What are those numbers?
Yeah.
And he responded with a pretty dazed and confused sort of look. Have a listen. Mm-hmm. You've repeatedly said you won't raise taxes on the middle class. What income range for individuals and households constitutes middle class?
I've spoken with Canadians across the country who are facing record levels of household debt and a real strain. And one of the things that's very clear is that they don't need greater taxes. Tax hikes are not on the table at all. And that's what I've been focused on.
Mr. Trudeau, with all due respect, you're speaking in platitudes. I'd like a number.
You'd like a number?
I love you. Oh, that was good, because your question was entirely valid and it wasn't rude in any way. I want to know the number. You know, I earn fairly decent money, but I pay a lot of taxes. I don't want to pay any more. Give me the number you're talking about. He doesn't know it.
Yeah, give me a range. Does it go from 130,000 to 150,000? In fact, him providing me with a number would have been better. Had he given me 150,000, I probably would have said, okay, and moved on with it. But he didn't. So then I asked him again, and here's what he said. What income range?
There are all sorts of different ways of calculating which decile or quintile constitutes the middle class. The reality is that I consider that the middle class is people who work for their income, not people who live off their assets and their savings.
Here is someone, by the way, who does live off his assets. His father left a huge trust fund. But the point being, there are people who work terribly hard and earn $300,000–400,000 a year. People who work terribly hard and earn $70,000 a year. That wasn't an answer.
That was nonsensical.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what that was. Justin Trudeau's handlers, I guess, haven't told him what the middle class is yet. It was crazy that he would suggest, let's consider a grandmother, for instance, who's living off of her assets. All of a sudden, she wouldn't be constituted middle class, but then you've got someone who potentially is CEO of a bank who's making a fabulous income, and all of a sudden he's middle class. So his answer just didn't make any sense. That's not a definition of middle class. Give me a definition. This is a man who's positioned himself to be the leader of this country. He is at the head of the polls, becoming the biggest threat to the Conservatives in the upcoming election. Give me some substance. I'm looking for a policy, some substantive policy from you.
And what people must remember is that he has used the phrase middle class and taxes dozens, hundreds of times perhaps. I don't think anyone has ever asked him that question before. How did the other journalists react when this happened?
Actually, after a few people came over to me and said he didn't answer any of your questions, that wasn't the only question I asked him. But in light of what's happened in Ontario, for instance, Kathleen Wynne, Premier Wynne's been asked what the middle class, who constitutes middle class. And even she couldn't answer that question. So you'd think that he would look at her and think, oh, I need to be prepared for something like that. But he wasn't.
He has certain stock answers that he's been given. He's not a stupid person, but he's not particularly bright. But he has these answers. He comes out, the words he used to you, by the way, I've heard him use those many times, because he was confused. So he went back into the defense mechanism, which I thought was quite fascinating. Did he know you were from Sun News?
Yes.
Because frequently he probably couldn't do it in a scrum, but he would just refuse to answer any of our questions.
No, and that's why I pressed him on it. Because again, politicians, and specifically Justin Trudeau, they like to speak in platitudes. So people listen to their words and all of a sudden, they think that they would be a great leader. And that could potentially be how Justin Trudeau wins, by speaking like that. But I had to press him on it. I had to stop him.
You did extremely well. Before we go, let's just see a clip, because people probably are aware of this. Trudeau at a charity boxing match, and he got very excited. And let's see what happened.
I will tell you, there is no experience like stepping into this ring and measuring yourself, all that, your name, your fortune, your intelligence, your beauty, none of that matters.
And all the morons go, blah, blah.
It's that prime ministerial language.
Well, and before he said the F word, somebody said the F word, but intelligence, beauty. Look, obviously, I am incredibly beautiful, but I don't wake up every morning and say, I must consider now my intelligence and my beauty and my fortune. He's talking about fortune and beauty because he's talking about what he thinks is himself.
Yeah, I thought actually the better part of that clip was the fact that he actually referred to his beauty. But look, Justin Trudeau, the master of spending, wants to spend on healthcare, education, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, I guess the budget will just balance itself, right, Michael?
I'm sure it will. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.